While there's no shortage of amazing things in our world, the lengths people will go and the money they'd spend to own them never ceases to amaze. In this day and age, it's easy to sell off your unwanted items and to put them out there for the world to bid on. Sometimes, the paydays for these auctions are enormous, and for good reason. Here, we'll see many things, from super rare baseball cards to the biggest coin ever made. Here, we'll see the most expensive things ever sold at auction. 13. The Hollywood sign. No, not the sign that you see perched up on the hillside in California today, but the original, old Hollywood sign. It was first put up in 1923 and initially read Hollywoodland instead of just Hollywood. In the early 1940s, the sign caretaker, Albert Cawthey, ruined the letter H on the sign by driving into it from behind while inebriated. It was stipulated that if the H were to be repaired, land would need to be taken off the sign. And so it was. Then, in 1978, following years of deterioration, the sign received an upgrade and was replaced by what we see today. In 2005, the original sign was posted to eBay with a starting bid of $300,000, and the owner was said to be selling it to finance a personal project. When the auction closed in December 2005, the sign was sold for $450,000. 12. The baseball bat of Shoeless Joe. Shoeless Joe was a Major League Baseball player way back in the early 1900s who is famed for his skills. Joe first played for the Philadelphia Athletics, then moved on to the Cleveland Naps. Then he ended his career with the Chicago Black Sox. He has the third highest career batting average in the history of the sport, a fantastic feat and record which stands strong today. He's also known as being part of the Black Sox scandal, which was an attempt by 8 members of the Black Sox to fix the World Series that was to be played against the Cincinnati Reds. Shoeless Joe's bat, Black Betty, was auctioned by Christie's in 2016 and fetched a massive $583,500 from an online bidder. 11. Da Vinci's Codex Leicester. This book was at one point known as the Codex Hammer, and is one place where Leonardo da Vinci recorded his thoughts and his scientific process. It's named after a man called Thomas Coke, who was created Earl of Leicester, who purchased the extremely valuable item in 1719. As of today, the Codex holds the record for the second highest sale price of a book, behind the original Book of Mormon. Bill Gates, of Microsoft fame, bought the book through Christie's auction house for $30,802,500 on November 11, 1994. Adjusted to today, that equals out to roughly $50,858,000, which is a pretty ridiculous price for a book. But hey, there's only one, so it makes some sense. 10. Ian Usher. Okay, so this guy literally put his life up for sale after his marriage fell apart back in 2008. The Englishman had once worked as a youth leadership and teamwork counselor with British Rail before he moved on and opened Scarborough Jet Skiing with a partner named Bruce Jones. Then, in 2001, he moved to Australia, where he worked in management, marketing, and sales. After he put his life up on eBay, a bid came in, and that bid secured him $399,300. His intention for the auction was to be able to have a fresh start, and using that money, Usher traveled the globe, completing 100 different life goals in 100 weeks. He became a motivational speaker, even speaking at TEDx Vienna, and wrote a couple of books about his experiences. 9. Marilyn Monroe's dress. Remember that time that Marilyn sang a beautiful version of Happy Birthday to President John F. Kennedy? The dress she wore while singing it has become famous as it fit very snugly and was nude-colored. It was sold back in 1999 to the Manhattan Collectible Company for $1.2 million, and they were even prepared to pay double because of the item's rarity. It was put up for sale again in 2016, and it sold on the very first day for $4.8 million. It's extra rare because the dress was worn during one of her last public appearances before her death in 1962, just 3 months after the singing to President Kennedy. 8. The Giga Yacht. This massive yacht holds the record for the most expensive thing ever sold on eBay, so it most definitely fits quite well on this list. The 405-foot megaship was designed by Frank Mulder, a naval architect, and is sometimes known as the Frank Mulder Giga Yacht. The yacht was designed with things like a helicopter pad, a movie theater, a jet stream pool, a spa, an office area, 8 guest rooms, 10 VIP suites that have panoramic views, and, on the main deck, a massive 3,000 square foot master cabin. It eventually sold to Roman Abramovich, a Russian billionaire, for $168 million. The transaction was handled by the brokerage firm 4Yacht in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Abramovich is well known for collecting luxury yachts, and his purchase of the Giga Yacht in 2006 just added to that. 7. Artemis and the Stag. As you probably already figured, this statue depicts Artemis, the ancient Greek goddess, and a stag side by side. The pose that Artemis is in seems to suggest that she just received a bow from an arrow. However, the bow was separated from the statue at some point in history and lost. The figure of Artemis stands 36¼ inches tall, and the stag stands 16¾ inches, both of which are fixed atop a base 12½ inches tall. It's believed that the statue was created sometime between 1 BC and 1 AD and is made of bronze. It was lost for many years before being found in Rome and was then excavated in the 1920s. It's changed hands numerous times, but found a home for a time at the Albright Knox Art Gallery in New York, who then put it up for auction in 2007. It was purchased by an anonymous buyer for $28.6 million. It can now be seen in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. 6. Largest gold coin in the world. A gigantic 100 kilogram or 220.5 pound Canadian gold maple leaf coin was bought in an auction in Vienna by a Spanish precious metals company for £2.7 million. The coin was one of just 5 Canadian $1 million maple leaf coins that were produced by the Royal Canadian Mint. AvW Invest, an Australian investment group, ordered the auction after filing for insolvency and having its owner and chief executive arrested on breach of trust, suspicion of fraud, and other charges. The coin was launched in 2007 in an attempt at snagging the Guinness World Record for world's largest coin and to show off the production facilities of the Royal Canadian Mint. It's 99.999% pure. 5. A whole bunch of meteorites. Rob Elliott, a former electronics engineer, built a collection of meteorites over a period of 13 years and finally decided to part ways with it in 2009. His collection was over 1,000 pieces strong, but he decided to sell only 170 of the space rocks. His interest started when he saw an ad in a magazine for a meteorite for $40, and ever since, he's been scouring the globe for his own. They went on sale in Edinburgh at Lion and Turnbull, and auctioneers put a $1.6 million price tag on the whole lot. He decided to sell the meteorites because although he has a great interest, he figured someone else could make better use of them. The entire bundle ended up selling for $1.4 million. 4. The dentures of Winston Churchill. While a lot of people with speech impediments will go to great lengths to cover them up, Winston Churchill knew that his made him recognizable and himself. He had his dentures specifically made to preserve that lisp so that he was instantly recognized during his wartime radio broadcasts. Derek Cudlip, a young dental technician, designed and created Churchill's dentures and kept a set in his family's home until 2010. Churchill appreciated Cudlip's work so much that when he was drafted for the war, Churchill himself tore up the papers. He told Cudlip that he'd be more critical to the war effort if he stayed at home and repaired the dentures, which needed fixing quite often. When he'd get angry, Churchill would flick them out and fling them across the room, so Cudlip was kept reasonably busy. The set from Cudlip's home sold for £15,200 or $19,417 US. 3. Honus Wagner baseball card. Honus Wagner was a German-American baseball player who played 21 seasons at shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He was one of the first 5 players ever to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and is still considered one of the best baseball players of all time. So it makes sense that his baseball card would be pretty popular, right? Well, he made them even rarer when after the American Tobacco Company put out his card among the cards of many other players, Wagner quickly made sure to get the production of his cards stopped, whether because he wanted more compensation or because he didn't want children to have to buy cigarettes to get his card. No one knows. Therefore, only between 50 and 200 of his cards were produced, compared to the tens or hundreds of thousands produced for other players. Most recently, in 2016, a T206 Wagner was auctioned by Golden Auctions and ended up selling online for $3.12 million. 2. Lunch with Warren Buffett. So, every year for 19 years, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, has auctioned a lunch with himself, and every year, he's raised a lot of money doing so. He uses the auction as a way to raise money for Glide, which is an organization that fights poverty in San Francisco, California. Over the years, the auctions have raised more than $26 million, and in 2018, the winning bid was $3.3 million. But that's not the most money anyone's ever paid to have lunch with the octogenarian. In fact, in both 2012 and 2016, two different high bidders paid $3,456,789 to eat with Buffett. Both years, both bidders paid that exact amount, whether by coincidence or on purpose. We're guessing on purpose. Whoa, we've seen a lot of expensive, rare, and random things that have been sold at auctions so far, and we still have one more to go. But first, we'd like to ask you, what's the most expensive thing you've ever gotten into a bidding war over? What kinds of things have you sold? Anything as impressive as these? We'd love to read your responses in the comments below. 1. Samuel Alsop's Arctic Ale. Fair warning, this one was a giant mistake, and the seller probably wasn't too happy with himself about it. The original seller of this authentic, museum-quality bottle of ale that came with an interesting explanation of the history behind it made a grave mistake by posting the bottle with a misspelled name. He spelled it ALLSOPS and only garnered 2 bids on his posting. The bottle was eventually sold to a collector from Tulsa, Oklahoma for just $304, who turned right around and reposted it on the site, labeled correctly. His posting found bids from 157 different people and ended up fetching him $503,300. Talk about depressing. If this video kept you entertained the whole way through, do us a favor and leave a like behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss any of our amazing uploads. And be sure to check out this next video that we hand-selected just for you.